All right, so I'd like to call to order the FinCom meeting of Thursday, July 11th, 2024. We're meeting here in Town Hall, and this is a hybrid meeting with one member present remote. First order of business is approval of minutes from our meeting of June 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
So we're going to say Eric made the motion and Alan seconded.
Sure, leave me out.
You want to second it? I defer.
It's gonna be the same tonight.
I defer.
All right. I need to poll. So Sarah,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is year-end budget transfers. Mr. O'Neill, would you like to take us through this?
Yeah, sure. There's no substantive changes from the last time when we met. We did take the one off for the Medicare, so that was taken care of. But again, happy to answer any questions. I think the Finance Commission, the budget shortfall on the recording secretary. Small amount, $800. The elections, again, increased cost of ballots, so that's $4,227. We have the treasurer expected expenses for ambulance collections from the collections company.
Wait a minute. We're getting expenses for the collections.
Correct.
Okay.
So we've collected more revenue than budgeted, so in the flip side of that, we have to pay more to the collection agency.
Oh, okay.
But it's overall, it's a positive.
It's over positive, yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is not a net cost to us. This is,
Right.
we've taken in more revenue and we have to pay our share of that collection expense.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's estimated at $45,000. We have the increase at Norfolk Aggie, 3 additional students, that's $4,312. And then we have the large increase in the waste removal trash contract of estimated at $574,076.
That's okay.
Taking some of that from snow and ice, out of curiosity, how much was left in snow and ice?
That's a good
Wild winter.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 451,000 or something. That was,
Out of the $1 million that we, or
Yeah.
the 800 that we had.
yeah, there was a significant amount left over, yes.
Okay, so we used half,
Yeah, I think
Little bit, yeah.
I think our snow and ice budget's higher than that. Yeah.
It's $1 million something, but 850 was like the expenses, and we're taking 400 out of the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I could say about the waste removal, I mean, the number is what it is. I mean, is it a number like that? Probably should have been on the warrant for the special town meeting in the spring, just so the town meeting members can vote on something that large. Just a note for next year that if
Okay.
we have something similar like that, and again, you may not know what the number is when it's time to put a warrant article in, but you just put a warrant article in, for the item, and then, in May, we'll have a much better handle of what the actual dollar figure should be.
Yeah,
So-
sure. I just made the assumption because we did have the snow and ice. We knew there was excess
Yeah.
funds there, so it was okay. We'd go through the proper procedure
Yeah.
through the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Commission.
Yep.
So.
Good, okay.
Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, forgive me if we asked this at the last meeting, the highway maintenance, the 174, is that like a normal amount to be left in that account, or do you know where that
No,
came from?
Yeah, so we're actually taking that. We have received some additional funds from a contractor to do some of the road work. So in a normal circumstance, this money would not be available. That would
Okay,
all be swept over to the streets for road
Okay.
repair. But we have some extra money that was from the contractor. I think it was National Grid. I'm not sure exactly. But we're allocating the road maintenance to that
Okay.
object.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was a question I had too, because, highway maintenance is something that we had increased our budget in that area as
Correct.
part of the override. We had said we were committed to doing more road work, and then since then we've also been borrowing money. Maybe not starting at the override, maybe it was a year later, but there's been a period of years where we've been borrowing money because we wanted to get caught up on roads, and so I was a little surprised that we had $174,000 that we hadn't spent
Yeah.
on
I was
roads.
too.
Yeah, there's no work has been put off. There's been no delay in that work. There was just excess funds that we have here because of another circumstance.
Okay. Are we losing internet here, or did Sarah lose internet at home?
I'm not sure. Sarah left, that must be Sarah.
Oh, there
she
she's
is.
back.
Was it something I said?
My app's bad, I just had to go.
Yeah.
All froze, sorry.
Right. If I could, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the year-end transfers as proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And seconds. I'll put it to a vote. Sarah? She said
Aye.
yes. Anne?
Aye.
Alan?
Yes.
Yes. All right, and the chair votes yes. That is unanimous as well. Thank you very much. Capital outlay policy, we had wanted to talk about this a little bit again, but I think that, I guess, Ann, do you want to just give us a brief update?
The Capital Outlay Committee is meeting on Monday,
Okay.
and I have picked up the list of articles, or not articles, things that they want to do on it. I picked that up from Mr. Rosen yesterday. We're starting, we're getting there. We're coming together.
Okay.
That's all I can say. And, the capital outlay policy is going forward to the selectmen.
Okay.
So
Great. Thank you very
I
much.
had nothing to do with that.
All right. Sarah, did you want to tell us anything about what's going on with the schools?
Sure, just briefly, we met on Monday. I was able to stay for most of the meeting. It really was just an organization meeting. It was the first meeting with Tim Luff and Sean Mannion in attendance. So they were kind of getting just a feel for how the budget balancing works. And they talked a lot about how they think it might work going in the future. So it was mostly an organizational meeting. But what they did talk about was they were reviewing, Sean was in the midst of reviewing fiscal year 24. The day after, I think Tuesday, the last AP warrant was run. So they are expecting to review things for about an additional 2 weeks to assess the final journal entries and budget transfers. So they expect to do one final journal entry to move what they need to circuit breaker, which they were very general in dollars because I think they want to be more familiar with what they are, but they think they were moving about $2 million to circuit breaker, if that sounds correct. Does that sound correct? But they were going to carry as much forward as they could to circuit breaker. So, and then they talked about the 2 warrant articles, the special education transportation article, and they believe they'll be returning about $200,000 from that to the town. And the superintendent search, they were estimating they would be returning about $24,000. They didn't want me to hold them to these exact numbers because obviously I think Sean just wanted to review everything one more time. So I think that's about it from a standpoint. Hold on one second, I had some notes on my phone. I just need to open it up. Yeah, and then they just talked about some of the other things like the elementary, but that was more school related as opposed to budget related. So anyways, I think that's it right now. So,
All right.
does anybody have any questions or?
I don't have any questions about that, and I did have just one other little report to let you know that we had, decided at our last meeting when we were looking at the long-term agenda that we would like to invite the schools to join us at our November 21st meeting, and I did send that request along to the schools, and they have said that they will be able to join us.
Oh, good.
Good, excellent.
I'm not sure exactly who will be coming, but I think we'll at least have some representation from
Good.
on that meeting. All right.
And I think sorry, one more thing, they plan to start their budget process a little bit earlier this year, like kind of aiming for October. So that's a good thing too.
Good.
All right. great. Anything else about that? Okay. Then the next item on our agenda is warrant articles for the October special town meeting. I don't know where things stand with the plans, whether or not the Board of Selectmen have approved the dates or not. But the last I knew, the proposed date would be that it would start on Thursday, October 24th. And so if that's in fact the date, then the Board of Selectmen would be looking for requests for things to go on the warrant. I think it was like somewhere around like August 9th or something like that, but it was definitely before our August 22nd meeting. So if there's anything that the FinCom would like to request specifically be added to the special town meeting warrant, now is kind of our time to talk about this. So I just want to remind everybody that last year, one of the things that was on the warrant was to put money in the override stabilization account. We had at one point talked about asking to put money into the general purpose stabilization account. That was not something that was put on the warrant for fall town meeting last year, so we couldn't add any money last year. So if there's something like that, if we would like to request, that either the general purpose stabilization account or the override stabilization account, or we have at times talked about maybe trying to establish like a capital projects reserve account. If that's something that we want to entertain, now's the time to kind of think about it. We'll also say that money can sit in free cash. It doesn't have to be placed somewhere. But if we want to
leave it there, it's going to be gone.
Yes, there is sort of the concern that it might burn a hole in someone's pocket if it's sitting there in free cash. And so if we want to earmark it for something, or if we want to suggest that town meeting earmark it for something, now's the time to kind of talk about that. So I wanted to throw that out to everybody here. And if we have questions for Jeff, he's here as a resource.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we don't know how much we're going to have available for free cash.
No.
It'll be a substantial number, a larger number than we typically have. But, we also don't know, what's going to be asked for in the October special town meeting for capital, as an example. Or what, some other issues are going to come up, particularly when you look at budget balancing and look at the fiscal 26 and how much money we want to put away. But having said that, I definitely would like to see an article in there, because even with all those other things, there should be a substantial amount of money which we would have available to put into a fund, whether it's a stabilization fund or whether it's a special capital-related fund. Because, quite frankly, we have it with the substantial amount of free cash we have. It should go to, the project-related things, as opposed to operations more, and I'm just concerned that, like you say, Ian, this money is burning a hole in people's pockets. And so I think, the short of it is I would like to put an article, in the warrant, whether it's for the general stabilization fund or we decide to create a special capital stabilization fund, for projects. One project I'm thinking of down the road we know we have to do is the town hall. Put a little, piece of the action, there now, and sort of reduce the pain, when we have to do that. So.
Well, the focus of the fall town meeting is supposed to be capital, so if an article about setting up a capital fund would seem to be very appropriate at that time, so I would certainly second that idea. And you're right, if you have an unusually large windfall, it makes sense to put it away instead of just saying, oh, suddenly we have a pile of cash. I'm not sure it makes sense to put money in the stabilization fund in the fall just to take it out in the spring. I'm not sure about that, but maybe since we don't know what the number is, we should sort of plan on having both, and then we can always pull one back. You can always definitely postpone it. So
right. At this point, we're running into a deadline to request something be added to the warrant. However, the Board of Selectmen will not be voting on the warrant until sometime in September.
Right.
So there's plenty of time to like either pull it off the warrant or to just not, like you said, do indefinite postponement at the,
Right.
at town meeting. So
Yeah.
it like, we're just trying to figure out like which doors we want to leave open for ourselves. And then, you know, any numbers obviously that discussion has to happen later. There's a lot more that would happen later.
I would suggest two articles, one to establish a capital reserve fund and one to appropriate money to the stabilization fund, amount TBD. And just go with that and see what.
Yeah, I mean,
Turns
given,
out.
I mean, I have no idea what goes into setting up a capital, related stabilization fund. Is that complicated to do, and can it be done in the amount of time we have available?
It can be, yeah, I believe with the changes, I believe it's set up through a majority vote, but any expenses out of that would be 2/3. So you can set it up.
Okay,
Easy to put in, harder to get out.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Okay.
That's the reason for it.
Yeah.
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 But, it makes sense. It would be similar to like a 2/3 vote to do any borrowing for capital, or 2/3 vote to make any like land purchase or something
Right,
like
right.
that. So it doesn't seem like 2/3 is a huge hurdle.
And you're right, there are large projects coming that will inevitably create a bubble, a spike in the capital spending for the year,
Yeah.
and having something to smooth that out would be a good idea.
Yeah, and, we can simply, request an article right now. And, when we come closer to town meeting, we'll know how much free cash we have that'll be certified. We'll know what we're looking for under a capital outlay for capital projects. Maybe have a little bit better handle of what FY '26 looks like, so we can pick, at a subsequent meeting, we can pick a number, which we think should go into either or both of those accounts.
Yeah, we don't need to have the number until we have the motion at town meeting.
Right.
Just need to
Right.
See what amount. So,
Yeah.
do we need a motion on that?
Sure.
I'm thinking.
Okay, I'll wait till you finish thinking.
No, okay. So we want a stabilization fund, right? And so are there any reserve funds versus a stabilization fund? I just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way for,
So I believe what you're talking about is the stabilization fund would be just the general stabilization that you want to leave an article for
Yeah.
a potential amount to be put into.
right,
Yeah.
Yes.
And now you're also talking about establishing a capital projects fund.
fund.
So that's not really a stabilization.
It's not a
that's-
stabilization
no,
fund.
no,
It
that's
is a
that's
regular-
limited to capital projects.
So like a reserve fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's where that's where I was going, was the reserve fund, and
Yeah.
I was getting a little.
Yeah, there was some thought of doing that a few years ago. I think David Ajah was one of the
Yeah.
ones who pushed that, and the selectmen weren't too keen on that at the time, as I
No.
recall.
They
I
weren't.
can't remember the reasons, but it never went forward.
Mhm.
But, okay.
Well, I would just move that we request two articles for the fall town meeting. One, to add an amount to be determined to the stabilization fund.
Mm-hmm.
The second, to establish and fund a capital reserve fund.
All right. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Anne. Any further discussion? All right, then we'll put it to a vote. Sarah?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
Alan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, that's unanimous. Okay.
So how are we gonna get this to the selectmen? Do we wanna, would you like to send a letter to them, officially,
Yes.
to, informing them of our vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will work on that.
Good, okay.
All right. Other topics for discussion. One thing is the long-term agenda. I realized that we forgot to put reorganization on the long-term agenda.
You don't want to stay where you are forever?
Well, that's a different question, but we do need to take an annual vote on such a thing. So I would propose that we schedule that for our next meeting on August 22nd.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think I think officially it's the chair's responsibility to set the agenda, and so I don't think we
Okay.
need a vote for that. But
Good.
I did want to let you guys know
Good.
that I had not forgotten that. Well, I had forgotten that, but it wasn't intentional.
Uh-huh.
All right. And I did update this document after our last meeting, so it does reflect the changes that we made at our last meeting.
Okay.
All right.
So what was that, August, right?
August 22nd is our next meeting. All right.
If I could just mention one other thing on the middle school, just that things are going well and the budget is very positive. And-
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Just
And then I have one item too.
Yes.
Just, it's likely the working group will meet on Tuesday. So if any, I've received some questions from Alan, but I haven't received anything as far as the Vernon Street project from anyone else. If you have any questions, please just send those along so I can be sure to add them to the discussion. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
And just
Thank
so everyone knows, there was a little kind of discussion about like what is the role of that working group, and it's certainly not to advocate for a position for or against the project. It's more like a way to have sort of a central clearinghouse of like, these are the questions that this is like how we're doing the due diligence. These are the questions that we want to have addressed. And instead of having 12 people trying to run around independently and do all that work, to have a more
Yeah.
streamlined and centralized process for that. So if anybody has questions along those lines, things that they think it's important for FinCom to know, or things it's important for town meeting members to know, Sarah's serving as our liaison to that working group.
So the only question I would have, I heard discussion about the CPC doing an appraisal. Do you know if that's happening or happened, or?
I know they had voted to do it at their last meeting, and they were taking money out of their general, I think, administration fund to do so. So that is in process, so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And I just wanted to thank Jeff for sending along that information about the airport expenses and compared to revenues. That was
Sure. Yeah.
very helpful. That was very timely that someone requested that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we can work on the budget book going forward. We can figure out
Yeah.
whatever you guys want to add in there, and
Yeah.
we can add in those schedules or
Yeah.
something in the department reports or whatever they want to, so.
I'll try to take a look at the budget book and see what
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, good.
All right. Great. So then we just get to action items and follow up. So action items, I have taken an action item that I'm going to send a letter on our behalf to the Board of Selectmen about the special town meeting warrant. And I think we don't really have any other specific action items other than the things that were already ongoing. Just a reminder that at our next meeting, we'll be looking at the year-end review of FY24. I'm sure Jeff has that like all wrapped up already, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Good thing you're not going away.
And then we also expect that at that point maybe we'll have an update from the Budget Balancing Committee. I need to work on trying to schedule a meeting with that. And then we will be talking about capital outlay projects, because that'll be kind of quick, that we'll have to be starting to make take some votes on
Yep.
capital outlay.
Okay. Good.
All right. Any
Great.
other things we want to talk about? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Alan, and seconded by
Go ahead, Eric.
Second.
Eric. And I'll poll Sarah.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Alan.
Yes.
Eric, yes. Chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.